Today we're taking a look at a curious piece of photographic equipment that I haven't seen reviewed anywhere else. This is a tilt adapter for M42 lenses to Fuji X mount, Sony E mount and Micro Four Thirds cameras. I've seen these sold under the brand names of Selens and Leinox, but they're all identical. To use the adapter, we find our favourite M42 lens and screw it in like it's any other M42 adapter. Then we line up the red dot with that on the camera and mount it. The adapter has a ring on it which turns. This controls the tilt of the lens. Further, the lens can be rotated 360 degrees with soft stops every 30 degrees. This controls the angle at which the lens can be tilted. Here, for instance, the lens can be tilted up instead of down. Without going into too much detail about how tilt photography works, I'll do that in a later video. Here's a quick demonstration of how to use a tilt adapter. I've set up the camera on a hill overlooking the suburbs. Shot like this, the entire frame is in focus. Tilting the lens up shifts the perspective up as the lens is physically moved away from the subject. After correcting for this by lowering the tripod and refinding focus, you'll notice the change in depth of field. Now the trees and mountain in the background are out of focus, as are the trees in the foreground. Meanwhile, our subject lays in the field of focus. I love the results produced by this adapter. Tilt photography gives you a significant degree of control over the depth of field to produce creative and interesting results. Back to the review itself, there are clearly some upsides to using an adapter like this. Firstly, these adapters are cheap. They currently sell for $30 when ordered from China, which isn't a significant price when you consider that a standard M42 adapter is $10. This is particularly cheap when you consider how much a dedicated tilt shift lens costs. The cheapest of these is from Samyang, and that still sells for $700. Secondly, these adapters work with a wide variety of lenses. Different focal lengths, apertures, bokeh characteristics, whatever, they're all usable. It also has an advantage over dedicated tilt shift lenses which have a fixed focal length and usually have a slow aperture of f3.5 or f4. Thirdly, these adapters are available for a wide variety of mirrorless lens mounts. The only big exception is that you can't get them for Canon M mount cameras. Whilst I've sung the praises of these adapters, they do come with some drawbacks. On full frame cameras, they do vignette. Looking at a picture taken with the Sony A7, you'll notice there is severe vignetting on the left hand of the frame. As a rule, the vignetting depends on how much you've tilted the lens and which direction. The vignetting will appear on the opposite side of the frame to the direction of the tilt. The level of vignetting will depend on how much the lens vignettes to begin with. This problem can be bypassed simply by using a crop sensitive camera or by cropping the images in post. Further, the build quality of these adapters is rather poor. They're made of cheap metal and are lubricated by grease that dries out rather quickly. This makes the adapters stiff and hard to operate over time. Comically, you'll notice that the numbering to indicate the tilt degrees are wrong. They start at 8 and end at 1 when they should start at 0 and end at 8. With all that said, it is very hard not to recommend these adapters. They are so cheap, and for what they do, the drawbacks are really inconsequential. Particularly if you already have a number of M42 lenses, you really owe it to yourself to try these things out.